telephone.
I'll call you right back podcast. But yeah, man, I'm excited to talk to you about this. This is kind of a different circumstance than I'm typically, used to. I usually come across people organically, which you and I did, but there's a little bit more prep and a little bit further out. But it was cool because of the way that you kind of came across us in life randomly, and we were able to make this happen as quick as we did. And I appreciate you taking some time to do this.
No, thanks for the opportunity. It was definitely off the cuff.
But
this is an incredible opportunity. This is actually my first podcast I've been on.
First one, and I appreciate it. Like I'm honored to be able to do this.
No, this is you gotta understand, this is like a core memory in the making in my life.
Well, that's good. I hope so. I mean, podcasts are the way to kind of, everyone can kind of spread their story on social media a little bit, no matter what. But it's kind of what you see on someone's social media page is just like a highlight reel, kind of. You just kind of figure out. You're seeing all the refined things that people are posting that are thought out and everything like that. But my thing, what I do with this podcast, I kind of just, I want to dive a little bit deeper into what got you to where you are. Obviously, you do stuff a little bit different. What would you consider? What would you say your title is if you were to say something?
Title?
Would you call yourself I think it's content creator, right?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I hate the sound of that.
I know.
Makes me cringe.
Yeah.
I'd say Dave.
Dave. That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's a perfect way.
Yeah.
Whenever you came up to me yesterday, we had like a brief discussion about how you kind of have to find a way to establish yourself quickly as someone who creates content, as someone who is like
filmmaker.
Like a social media guy.
Right.
But yeah, you're a filmmaker for sure. You're making, a whole bunch of miniature films. But it's weird because, you try to put a label on the person, the guest that I have on. And oftentimes people have a label like a chef, wildlife, guy, beekeeper, things like that. But I just didn't know like kind of what you envisioned yourself as.
Yeah, that's actually a great question because when I introduce myself to anybody out in public, especially if I'm attempting to ask them a question, I always lead with, "Hey, my name's Dave. I'm a filmmaker." And of course, what's people's reaction? Intrigue, interest. I would say that's the majority of the time, or wondering, what is it you want to talk about? Because they know you're not selling them something, you're not harassing them. And so I think I initially led with that kind of like intro from the jump to help build that rapport, because I'd been rejected over the course of, I think it was like 48 hours or 72 hours when I started doing this so many times.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, I only have maybe a split second, to break that barrier, disarm that person or people in the moment. This is how I'm going to title myself, a filmmaker. But now that you brought it up, yeah, I guess I am a filmmaker.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And I've met a few filmmakers who, out in public, I introduce myself, they say, "Oh, that's what he does," or "I'm a filmmaker." And I quickly would shell up and be like, "Well, I got to be honest with you. I'm not really a filmmaker. I've never been to film school. I have no experience. I can't even operate a camera.
Yeah.
Merely a cell phone. But this is what I've been doing. I make these clips using a cell phone. But often I've gotten a response, "No, you're making short films."
Yeah. Absolutely. You're making a bunch of short films. And, I would say it's even more unforgiving what you're doing, because it's like you're strictly just using the content that you're, getting off of the cuff and trying to trim it down into 90 seconds and kind of almost, display someone's long relationship with their counterpoint in life.
Right.
I was watching all your videos, and give a brief description on what you do, on what the content is that you create.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I'm approaching individuals, families, and friends, and asking everybody either to give what it is they love about themselves, 3 things, or one another. And so I think universally we all really struggle with communication, and inevitably we take a lot for granted with each other, ourselves, time, life. And I think this creates that opportunity where otherwise it may be difficult because someone's posing this question. You're disarmed in that moment. It's giving you an opportunity to escape from life and maybe everything that's currently occupying your headspace that is causing you stress or just distractions. And you get to remind yourself and one another what really matters. And I think that's love. And I think many of us can be hardened through life because it's a struggle and we experience so much pain. Life is not fun.
Yeah.
It can get really tough. But I think we all hit a point where we come to realize that relationships and love is what's most important.
Yeah, what gets us through.
Yeah, so I hope I didn't confuse the listener.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I feel like it's kind of the content that you're making. Like, there's other people that make the similar type of content, and I feel like I see it on every social media that I have. Like, it pops up no matter what. The types of content that you do, whether it be people, how they met their significant other, or a part that they like about their significant other. Or just like I follow a guy who goes up to random people and asks them for their favorite book. Tell me a good book.
Right.
And even before I became like a reader, like I just love that because I'm always been a sucker for just interaction and communication with people. So yesterday, whenever we were at Dagnys and we were leaving, and after we got our breakfast, and you stopped us and you explained this to us, obviously I'm a perfect mark because that's what I do too. I just interview people, and I'm very often the type of guy that just goes up to people in public and just kind of gives them my elevator pitch and says, hey, I have this talk show, come in and sit down. And like we were talking about yesterday, I kicked off this conversation asking, your title. And I feel like in today's world, it's hard to be a content creator. It's hard to be a podcaster. It's hard to be someone that is just lumped in with this world of saturation that we're in, because everyone has a podcast. Everyone has, an Instagram and everything like that. So,
or wants one.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to be doing these things. They want to be part of it all. But it's, whenever I have that interaction with someone that I might want to interview, it's hard to be like, hey man, I have this podcast. Would you like to come on it? Because more often than not, everyone's like, do you get a lot of people that turn you down? Well, you said in the beginning you did, right? Like whenever you were talking
about
people?
Me. Sorry, I was getting lost thinking about your question.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. So I get rejected. Today, for example, I was at the mall and breakfast, attempted to speak to a lot of people at both places, and I was rejected for like 4 hours straight.
Yeah. See,
brutal.
I feel like that you're obviously just doing reps. Like you're asking, you're stopping just any couple in anywhere randomly, right?
I probably should.
Yeah.
I still am kind of, I try to be mindful of, I guess I am selective, because I think it would be really intrusive if I was just like a missile, and just everyone that walked by, I'm probably getting banned from everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to be selective, although some people have told me you should be asking everybody.
Yeah.
It's an important question to throw around. But today I try to do that, and a lot of stiff no's, or people, as soon as you're like, excuse me, may I ask you a question? Get out of my face.
Yeah.
Don't talk to us. No.
Yeah. You see like a random person
not
coming
selling
up.
life insurance.
Yeah.
Don't want money. Social security number's all yours. And it's still like a hard no.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about that because we're doing things a little bit differently. I mean I'm not just going up to everyone in public. Usually, if I am making that pitch to someone, it's at like one of like the I Made It markets or like a Handmade Arcade or something like that, where it's like people that are showcasing what they're doing. But you're showcasing regular people, and that's like that's essentially what you want to do, right? You just want to find a regular person, an organic couple, and just kind of see what comes from them. I mean,
it's difficult though, because in today's day and age, naturally in public, we got to be guarded.
Yeah,
we're very conditioned because of what's going on and we see in the news.
Yeah,
got to be guarded.
Now, I mean, like, where does this? So obviously, we came across each other, and me and Antoinette, my wife, were able to participate in what you do in like real time. You asked us each to name 3 things that we love about each other, and it was like, it's a great experience because, as you were saying, people are living this life, and we're just going along all day living life, and you're providing like an opportunity for us to be thoughtful in some way. Like it was abrupt, and it was like shocking, and we weren't ready for it. But I don't know, that's what was so cool about it, because like I see all these videos, and I've seen them for months and months online, and whenever you're brought to that moment, it's like it's cool to be able to like dig down and really think about what this person means to you.
Yeah, it's a very, we all have different love languages and stuff, but at the end of the day, we all feel love in many different ways, but express, why do we say I love you?
Yeah.
It's a term of endearment, but it gives us security, comfort, all these things. But I think inevitably over time and in relationships, life happens, the stress, the pain, when you're in a relationship, it's the financial stress, all the burdens that can happen and come with it. And you're not only, going through your own internal struggles and everything, but now with another person. And you kind of share a mutual responsibility with a lot of things. And so I think at the end of the day, it's overlooked. We assume we know the other person loves us or know that we love them through the ways we show them, the things we do. But I think as human beings, we need to be reminded.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I was just talking with someone the other day, and they said, in your opinion, why do you think so many people struggle with communicating feelings and emotions? Even those that maybe have been taught or grew up in an environment where they're conditioned to feel comfortable, expressing themselves. Why do you think it's still a struggle? And I think because the internal feelings and the brain chemicals that flare up that we experience when we start to think about how much we love someone, right? Mm-hmm. When we really stop and push everything else aside, I think the majority of us will get emotional thinking about how we love that person that means so much to us. And that's an uncomfortable thing. We don't want to cry or have these reactions, that our bodies may have. So we want to escape it. It's like, all right, I can't talk about it. And you get that reaction a lot where you'll ask someone to share and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to cry. Not doing this. And I've come to think about it, and I said, hey, if I look at myself, because that's really the only person I could speak for. I could try to understand other people, but this is who I am. I came from a home so much love, more than anyone could ever wish for, and very comfortable communicating feelings and emotions. But to this day, if I get on the phone with my parents right now, or sitting with my girlfriend, and someone said, hey, tell them how much they mean to you. Can you share with them? Immediately, I'm going to get choked up.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable, because here comes, a tidal wave. And probably prefer to not do that. But I think if we make it a normal thing and just communicating, because a lot of us aren't taught from an early age, it just becomes more normalized. And I think just so important as humans, if we could all do that. Just communication is the foundation, I think, of every relationship,
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. I mean, as I was going through all your videos, and like you have all these, couples that have been together for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And I mean, that's basically essentially what everyone's answer is, good communication with their best friend. And I mean, some people aren't as lucky to be able to find that in a partner in life. Some people don't ever find that. And that's a shame. But like often whenever you find the people that are, going through it, like going through life, that is, like for the long haul, that are like 70, 80 years old, everyone's like communication is the most important. You see a lot of the old people that are like, you can't go to bed upset, things like that. But you're right, no matter what, I tell my parents, every time I talk to my parents on the phone, I try to call them every day, but I'll call my mom, even if it's just for a second. Hey, what are you up to? Nothing. What do you got going on tonight? Nothing. All right, love you, bye. But it's just quick, love you, bye.
Quick reminder. Yeah.
Quick. It's not really like, an opportunity to sit there in it,
right,
and feel that like vulnerability and be like, I love you like more than you could even understand, because you created the man that's in front of you. You helped, me become the person that I'm proud to be today. And, it does. It really, like, once you sit in that and you marinate in that, you start to like feel all them, like, backlogged emotions that are like from being a young kid. That's
and then
like,
you're like, oof.
Yeah. It's like all the, and I think it's also, as an adult, it's even important to think about that because
now I'm thinking about it, having to roll up my sleeve. I'm like, all right, I'm getting choked up.
Yeah. Like I think about it because even all the stuff that they did that we remember as a kid, it's like as an adult, I think about the action and the things that they took action on whenever I was a kid and they were an adult. Like at one point they were, a 40-year-old adult managing 2 kids, me and my brother. And it's like, man, but like you said, I grew up in a house that there was more love than I could have ever wanted. We were always taken care of. Our parents did everything, but you're right. That's exactly it. We don't spend enough time to communicate that deeply enough. Yeah. It's often just like, yeah, love you, scratch that itch, but to be able to sit there in it and really think about why you love that person is something extra.
And it's funny you mentioned something. So you've been now married going on 11 years.
No. We were married 7 years this year, but we were together 4 years before that. So we're together 11 years. Okay.
So a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of comments recently where they say, too bad I'll never find this. Or there's a whole demographic of people that respond to these videos talking about like how that just doesn't exist anymore. It's not out there. And I was thinking about that today because I was going to start responding to some because I felt really bad. But I felt the need to share what I believe. It's just so obvious, but complex in many ways is what is love? We all have a different interpretation. But I think ultimately it's acceptance and understanding, right, of who we are. And so when you think about finding that person, or falling in love, or just meeting your person for life, in order to do that, you got to be vulnerable, right? And you got to understand and accept yourself. And I think we often overlook that. So to the people, that are waiting for that Prince Charming or Cinderella to fall out of the sky, or have had all these bad experiences and haven't found that person, I think it's overlooking that it's work. It's putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And being vulnerable in that relationship, and really opening up. And I think your video with your partner in crime was a great reminder, just seeing that level of vulnerability. That's what really matters.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great moment to be able to sit there and, we've watched that video over and over, and, I'll post this in the beginning. I'll post our video in the beginning just so people can understand, get an example of, the content you make, and I'll post your Instagram so obviously people can understand what we're talking about. But, before we get more into, this venture that you're going down right now, it's like I want to rewind a little bit because I was doing a little research, I was just scrolling through your Instagram, and I kind of just wanted to know like where all this came from, because you told me you started this in July of 2023. That was your first video you posted on your Instagram of these interviews.
So
come up on that mic for me, please.
Forward.
Yeah, just have this mic, like you can move this up a little bit. There you go. That's perfect. Yeah, so I was actually thinking about that because I always tell people like 5 months. Yeah.
But that's not entirely true. I think I had a dream that lingered for probably over a decade for me. Never executed on it for many years, or even dip my feet in the water to try. Yeah. To attempt to do anything. It was because of fear. Validation, fear, all the things that come with it. But over probably the past few years, every now and then I posted a TikTok video, and it would be, it started with me sharing things that I was self-conscious or vulnerable with and bringing them to light on video, which is my biggest fear, talking about this and myself, this very thing that maybe is a big insecurity for me. Yeah. But my hope was to inspire other people that, hey, whatever that thing's holding you back, use it as a strength and bring attention to it. And then anyone could say whatever they want about it, but you've already put it out there. Who cares?
Yeah. You disarm it.
Yeah. And so I was all proud of myself for doing that, but I don't think anyone watched it or, so then, I deleted them. And then I attempted again and started doing it more. And then I started asking people questions, what they love about themselves. But because I didn't get that validation from the public and people clicking that like button and that share, viewing it, I quit.
Yeah.
You know, but days would go by and every day I'm going about life, you know, going to work, stressing about all the things we do, wishing I was doing this.
Yeah.
You know, and I think everyone out there has that dream or that thing that they're either doing and wish they're doing more, or those ideas, you know, that they have failed to execute, but, you know, wish they were. And so, yeah, it just finally reached a point, I would say it was like 5 months ago, that I said, I kind of feel like I'm at the end of the road. I'm 40, but I've done everything I'd want to do professionally in life. You know, I've lived every life, and this is what I want to do with my time. And so I'm just going to go all in. And one day I'm going to die and still be doing it. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what's pretty great about it. So like 5 months has been since you've been like, you know, full-time just grinding at this, you know, posting 2 of these reels a day and just, you know, out there on the hunt, finding people to talk to.
Yeah.
Where do you first start going to?
Usually leave the house, get coffee first thing in the morning. So Gecko is usually the first stop. But usually not a lot of couples there, you know, as you can imagine, early in the morning on Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll usually, where's a normal stop?
Well, even whenever you started this, like if you started this and you were thinking like, I'm going to start, you know, going to talk to these people and asking random people questions.
Anywhere and everywhere. So,
anywhere you went, right?
So yeah, and that's a good question. A lot of people are like, Dave, where do you find all these people? You know, like, how are you finding all these couples? Like, I got like a ton of DMs last night randomly. Yeah. Asking like, where in the world are you finding these people? All these amazing, loving, beautiful people. And when I see this, I'm like thinking, dude, it's all around us. It's everybody. Like, what do you mean? I'm not hunting for anybody. I'm just literally walking into a store, you know, or driving down the street and there they are. And I just stop and ask and listen. Yeah. And that's it. But I think we overlooked that. We're all in this rat race. We got whatever's on our mind, we're running around. And so it's, I'm going about my day looking for people, you know, and I'm holding no bias, no judgment, not assuming anything, and just asking, you know, and it's not even really cookie cut. It's across the board. And when you stop, and I think people aren't guarded or fearful or cautious of who you may be being a stranger. And in that moment, there's that trust and that vulnerability. And they're saying, okay, we're willing to talk. And you just listen. It's blows your mind. You're like, wait a second, all these people from all these different backgrounds with maybe conflicting political views and social views, we may be completely different people. Yeah. But emotionally, we're all connected, you know? Yeah. It's like what matters.
Everyone feels love no matter if you're, you know, if you're on the flip side of the coin or not.
Right. And so sometimes my mind's blown walking away because I'm like, I was judging, you know, in the back of my mind, or I assumed something. And then this person said something that maybe, you know, reminded me, like it happens every day, like, oh my God, I know nothing. Yeah. You know, everything I thought I knew is out the door. Yeah, but it's like you're forgetting about all the, you know, the silly things that can divide us in this world.
Because ultimately, like that's one thing that everyone can understand is like caring about people. Right. Yeah, that's deep stuff. Now let's rewind this back to, because I found out before you know, I asked you yesterday where you were from originally. You're not from here originally. No. Florida. Okay, so rewind this back to whenever you're a kid. You know, what are you like as a kid?
Wow. Yeah. So I was adopted. I was actually born in Chicago. Yeah, DeKalb, Illinois. Well, Hoffman Estates, Illinois, to be exact. So,
how old were you whenever you went into the system?
Day 2.
Day 2? 2 days old?
It was an eBay. They messaged the seller right away. They said close the auction.
Wow.
Yeah, no. Like it was a closed adoption, but yeah, day 2. So I didn't know any different until it was explained to me. Yeah, which was probably when I was old enough to understand, maybe around 6 or 7. Okay. and I was adopted and raised by a sex therapist
Yeah.
and guidance counselor, just like Meet the Fuckers, a Jewish sex therapist and guidance counselor.
Wow. That was originally that's who hired you from day 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Day 2.
Wow.
So I think large in part because of that, I became I was a really sensitive, curious, loving boy. Loved everybody, but had this extreme desire. I wanted everyone to feel good and happy at all times.
Yeah.
And I was very empathetic and in tuned, almost to a fault to others, where I could plug into everybody and sense when someone was struggling. And I just cared so much, and felt like I had the energy or ability to help them and wanted to help everybody. But with that, I deeply cared about what everyone thought.
Yeah.
And so if there was someone that didn't like me, and it could be just teasing, you know, I've memories in kindergarten, even elementary school. And I wonder if it's like that for most other people who can reflect as adults. But I think certain insecurities and things that shaped and molded who I am over the years just happened from small, instances that maybe seemed so trivial at the time and weren't, this profound moment in time where I was really that upset.
Yeah.
Didn't think it bothered me, but I think those were, just a real sensitive, loving boy.
What were your hopes and dreams as like a young kid? Like the first thing you can remember that you wanted to be?
Make people feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I saw that was my parents. My father was a teacher and guidance counselor. He'd pick me up from school every day. I think my mom was generally the one who drove me in the morning.
Yeah.
And, when he would pick me up sometimes, we'd have to stop back at the high school he taught at. It was everyone's Mr. Shane. Like every kid would be eager to greet him or say hi. And there was times where I was like, man, why does everyone love the teacher? Not all teachers get that kind of love at all times. But I think he was extremely passionate about what he did. And the reason he dedicated his life to being a teacher, he loved kids and people, wanted to help them. And same with my mom. She ultimately ended up retiring from private practice, and was forced to because of health issues. But the most loving, caring person.
Wow.
Yeah, just like angels.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so like, how old were you whenever you found out you were adopted? 6 or 7?
Yeah, probably 6 or 7. And my earliest memories are like around that age, as far as dreams of what I want to do. I think it was just generally help people.
Yeah.
Maybe follow like in my mom's footsteps, be like a therapist.
Did you understand it as a kid? That you were able to like comprehend all that?
So that's a great question.
Because I have two very technically they're my aunts, but they're similar in my age, and they were adopted into our family whenever they were. I mean, they had to be 2 and 3, and they're 30-year-olds now. So it's always been something that I've always was aware of, because I was one of the witnesses when they at the jury that day, and it's always been something that was fascinating to me because my grandmother always had fosters, and that was the only experience I ever had as a kid of foster children, adoption, and everything like that. And I know that it changed my cousins' lives, and it's an incredible thing that happened, and that's incredible that you were able to be with your parents.
Yeah, it's probably as early as 6 or 7. I remember they sat me down on the bed and like, we need to talk to you about something, and they had my little what was it, like a fucking, am I able to curse on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I do curse a lot. I'm gonna lose a lot of followers.
That's all right.
It's all right. So I had like a fucking onesie, the thing you have as a baby.
Yeah.
So they have that out, and I'm like, what is that? And they got like my socks next to it. I'm thinking, well, what's going on? Why are they showing me this? And I think they might have had like the birth certificate out too. And they said, listen, we want to talk to you about something. And then they started to go through it. And I can't remember specifically the verbiage they used, but they were very delicate and explaining that you were adopted and this was the process. And if you ever want to meet your biological parents, we will help and support you do that, and blah, blah, blah. And if you ever have questions. So I can remember coming out of it with no anxiety, totally loved. I think I even told them at the time, I'm good. I love you guys so much. Like I almost was like dismissive. Yeah. It doesn't matter. But I was always very comfortable talking about it. And then, of course, quickly realized, especially at a young age, that's not the case for everybody. And not everyone has fortunate enough experience and upbringing that I had, and sometimes adoptions are not by choice by any means.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trauma associated with that. So I was just very fortunate in many ways. And don't want to jump the gun too much, but yeah, it got crazy where I think it was like in 2015, biological parents randomly reached out one day when I was at my parents' home.
Wow.
And I guess it was like through Facebook they were able to find them.
That was the first interaction you had with them?
Yeah, never. I never had a desire to reach out.
Yeah.
Not out of resentment or anger or anything of the sort.
But you had parents.
I had so much life, greatest
Yeah.
life, and I have love for them too because they made a selfish, very tough decision. I'm sure I can't imagine as a mother and father
Absolutely
to have to go through that. So I said, you know what great people. I'm so blessed and fortunate. So they randomly reached out, and it was actually like the one time I answered my parents' landline, which is crazy,
goodness,
and thought it was a telemarketer. But we connected, and I got to learn about like the family's history and health, which was really important. Good to know. But the main reason they reached out was to tell me that I have a biological sister.
Wow.
And so 2 years after they gave me up for adoption, I guess they got back together and ended up having a daughter and been married ever since. And
wow.
So, they said, it had always bothered them all their life, just wondering if I was okay, how things turned out. But ultimately, they wanted to reach out and connect her and I.
And how did you, obviously you were an adult then,
Right.
Do you think that was a benefit that they waited to do that? Or do you think that, you would have almost wanted them to do that when you were younger? Like, did you ever have any thoughts of curiosity? Like, do my real parents, they think about me?
No.
Okay.
And I think that's just a testament to how much love I received.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And just being, such blessed with such loving parents. But, there's different ways to look at it. That's a difficult one. Yeah, it's something that never crossed my mind. But, if there was ever anyone in that situation as a parent or a person that chose to give a child up for adoption or had to, that's something to be very, very careful with, because I think it could cause someone to be thrown emotionally and could be traumatic. I was very fortunate, I think, because of the amount of love I received and the upbringing I had.
Yeah, because like you said, not everyone gets to experience such like a great place to, come up.
But it was definitely, I think it was difficult for me.
Yeah.
Because it invokes crazy thoughts and feelings and...
I mean, I can't even imagine. That's
right.
But it's I don't know. It just seems like I would almost prefer it, because I was such I just didn't think the way that I thought as an older person. So like, I feel like I would have, liked to be able to be more mature and, older in age, be able to, have that moment and have that, experience in life where people reach out and stuff like that. But I don't know. That's interesting. That's great that like you had that opportunity to have a good upbringing, and that's incredible. Did you have any other siblings through there? Yeah.
So my parents who adopted me, they have a biological daughter who significantly older. She's late 50s, approaching 60.
Okay.
Hope I didn't mess that up.
Like 20, like 15, 20 years old?
She won't see that.
That's all right, yeah. That's
yeah.
all right.
No, big age gap, so we weren't particularly close when I was younger.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
So what kind of interests, like whenever you were younger down in Florida, it's like, what kind of interests are you in high school? Like what kind of things do you like? Are you sports?
Everything. I went through every phase. I went through a skater phase, paintball, every sport.
Paintball.
Yeah. Laser tag.
Everyone did.
Yeah, it was everything.
What part of Florida?
East Coast, West Palm Beach, South Florida.
Okay.
So Palm Beach County. But growing up, tried everything: rollerblading, skating, Jankos, airwalks, that whole fit. Yeah. It's crazy. I feel like I got to experience what it's like to be every type of kid and every type of person.
I think it's important to do that though, because I was similar. My brother was older, so he was I don't know, he dressed differently. I was more of like the skater type of person. He was wearing, Echo and John Blaze and all that stuff. So,
Right.
I saw both ends of it all. I got to experience, all different types of music because one, he was older, but like, he liked different stuff than I did. But I think it's important to be able to, be all different types of people until you find out what you want to be and who you are.
Yeah, and I yearn to be accepted by everybody. So I became like this chameleon because I just wanted to be liked by everybody. So you got to learn boundaries. And I had to learn that later in life. But for so long, that took me from jumping from one thing to another. And
1,000,000%.
Yeah, and it as I'm talking about it and looking back, I'm like, dude, this is an insane life, that I've lived so far because I just experienced so much. But with that, I think that helped offer up a lot of perspective and relatability because these days I look at everybody, I'm like, it's me.
Yeah.
Everybody's me.
Yeah, you can see yourself in everyone.
Yeah.
At least some point of it. Now, what is, if you're in high school and you're getting ready to, get out of high school, what are your ideas as far as, career? Like, did you have any idea of what you wanted to do?
No. I think if you were asking me then, like if I was doing a podcast, I'm in like 11th grade. Or
11th grade. And people were like, what the hell are you going to do?
I'm going to be an attorney.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't know that I really believe that.
Yeah.
I didn't high school
it's a weird time in life.
Traumatic time.
Yeah, I mean, you're like 15, 16, 17 and you're trying to figure out what the hell you're supposed to do for the rest of your life.
So, high school for me, it was 4 years of worry.
Yeah.
I was fortunate. I was real popular because I was the first person to drive as like a freshman and have a car.
Hell yeah.
It was like the Fast and Furious phase, and my father ended up selling his pride and joy. It was a 63 Corvette Stingray.
Oh my goodness.
And he sold that so that his son could get the strobe lights, the amp, and the Toyota Camry.
No way.
And the subs. And so it started with that. He passed me down a Camry, and then it went full-fledged. Like I have...
You were in the car scene? Like you were big...
Yeah, I'm embarrassed.
I saw Fast and the Furious on the midnight preview up here after...
I was the problem. I was part of the problem.
Well, these are the people, I'm sure I saw the type of people like you where after we left at like 2 a.m., all these kids in like the Honda Accords are
revving
ripping,
up mufflers,
going over curbs and shit like
100%.
that. Absolutely
100%.
hilarious.
I had like 18-inch rims, the full body kit, baby blue, like videos, screens everywhere in it.
Well, it's, you were like, you were almost the same age as my brother. So it's like, I
was the worst.
I could kind of conceptualize like where your mind was at. Like you were in a tough time because you were old enough to be able to be participating in these things while all these like culture shifts were coming into play. Like,
and I thought I was the coolest. I would be at lights. I owe my parents so much money for gas money and just terrible decisions. But every light I was at, it was looking around, is anyone watching me, and like turning up the subs.
Yeah.
All to get the stranger
subs.
to just look at you.
Yeah. You just want to be, you're peacocking.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You're peacocking.
But everyone could beat me in a race too. I had the slowest, because it was like an inline 4, slowest car, but looked so fast. Sounded
looked sick. Fast and the Furious days. Yeah. I mean, like, I can't even imagine being, because I was, I think that came out in like 96, 97.
Yeah.
I was a little bit too young. My brother was like, a little bit older.
But
he
you
was
were probably
driving.
watching like, whoa.
Dude, I'll quote every bit of that movie. I have the special edition literally right up there. I'm real into it. So after high school and after you figured out you weren't going to be street racing with Dom Toretto, where does that go? Like, where does the next thing go for you?
Oh God, yeah. So college SATs, I did the Christmas tree method.
Yeah.
First time I was signed up, I lied to my mom, didn't go to take it, went to the beach, told her we had to reschedule it, made up a whole elaborate excuse. Wow. Christmas tree at the second time, got like a 10:15. It's like 10:15, 10:30. And none of the schools that I originally wanted to go to didn't get into any of them.
And you were still going to school to be an attorney?
No, so this is like high school to college.
Yeah.
Yeah, so track is to be an attorney. What that means, I have no idea. A lot of my friends' parents growing up were really successful. A lot of them were attorneys or doctors. Had had a lot of just friends from affluent families.
Yeah.
Because I went to a private school.
Yeah.
And so it was really just me and one other buddy whose parents were like working class people who just probably broke their bank to send us there.
Yeah. Well, what college were you looking at?
Florida school. So like FSU, Florida State, University of Florida.
And you were just going to go in there, get in there and just like figure it out along the way?
You know what I mean? Because I blew all the opportunities in high school. I didn't really apply myself. I cheated a lot.
Yeah.
Being honest. I was just caught up in...
Dude, I was just serving time. You know, that's the best way that I...
Yeah, and it just the anxiety of like... Man, I was so self-conscious. I was always worried about my skin. I had acne at one point, got on Accutane, and... I mean, everyone probably, kids, you know, if they're looking at me now talk about this, they wouldn't believe it because they, no, you were confident or this but no, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It was just pure anxiety and constant worry about, you know, what other people are thinking. Just exhausting. And I think, high school's like, you're doing a tour. All of us are.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. It's a wild time in life. You know,
Yes.
I can't even. Can you imagine doing all that with like social media and cell phones if that was going on back then? I graduated in '08, and like I think that I was the last age where people didn't all have cell phones at all times.
Right.
And I just like, it's so overwhelming to even think about that, you know?
Oh, forget, like, talk about mental health under attack.
Yeah, it would be insane to think about that.
Right.
Like and it's wild to think of like, you know, my nieces and nephews and like my goddaughter and everything who's like 11 years old. And you're just like, Jesus, it's going to be a wild time for them growing up. And I just hope that, you know, kids can make it through. You know what I mean? It's because it's the best time and the worst time. It's bitter. I mean, it's a double-edged sword what we have because everyone has these like business making machines at their fingertips, but it's also like, you know, Jesus, everyone's tethered to everyone.
Yeah, it's it can be used as a powerful tool and positive in many ways, but I think it's also it's tough, especially on the kids.
For sure. So FSU didn't happen.
FSU, UF didn't happen. All my friends got in there. They all were going where they wanted to go. So it was a little bit of a gut check, and I think that was the first time it kind of hit me. Probably should have taken that more seriously. And it was a blast, don't get me wrong, but towards the end of high school, went through the breakup with the high school sweetheart who was a year younger, still staying there.
Hell yeah.
So I was going into college a little rocky, you know. It was high, and then the ending of high school was tough. But got into UCF, so in Orlando, and I became a total pothead. I'm just gonna let it rip, keep it real. Yeah, no, I was a pothead. I even sold weed in college. Yeah. That was my experience of it. Yeah. Didn't go to any classes, dropped them all, kept one, was a TA in it, and somehow stayed on like scholarship. Wow. Hope the statute of limitations is right on with that. Shit. Yeah, but I think I lived a big lie to my parents. And so after 4 years of college, and it was a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. Yeah. What are you even like honing in on there? You know, like what sort of curriculum? I mean, I think you have 2 years of what, gen eds, and then like where does it go after that? Do they ever make you pick? No, so I would drop all my classes, and I don't know how this all worked out, but I would drop all my classes but one, and that was Hebrew. Hebrew. Because I was fluent in Hebrew. I went to a Jewish day school growing up, kindergarten through 8th grade, and I became fluent in like 2nd grade. I could read, write, and speak it. Wow. And so obviously that really doesn't come in handy these days. Like, and you learn that as after you're out of, elementary, middle school, you're like, okay. Yeah. Don't know. Wow. Yeah. So, there was a course, it was a minor, and it was like, basically the alphabet, in Hebrew. And I said, oh, this is going to be a walk in the park. And so next thing you know, I realized the professor struggles with communicating the language to the students because she's from Israel. Yeah. And thick accent and doesn't understand English that great. So I kind of became the TA. And so I was like this adjunct professor or whatever you want to call it. Wow. But that was my only class, and it required very little brain power because I was basically just teaching the alphabet to my friends. Yeah. So we had a blast. Yeah. And then at the end of 4 years, it was a reality check because everyone now is going on to grad school and, you know, going away to pursue their career. It's like, wait, the party's over?
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah. And I think at that time, my mom and dad looked at me and were like, what just happened? And so, yeah, didn't know what to do and called my best friend at the time. He was at University of Florida and still an undergrad. Yeah, still an undergrad, but he was also a police officer for the school.
Okay.
For the college. And he's like, why don't you come up here and be a police officer?
Like an actual police, or is it like top flight security?
Yeah, no, like actual police. And I'm like, how's that going to be possible? You know, look what my life's been for 4 years. Yeah, I'll watch cops on the couch after smoking a blunt with, you know, 5 buddies and, you know, sweating our tails off, you know, freaking out. But I was like, I can't be a cop. It's like, no, you can. So.
You were a cop?
So I became a police officer for 7 years.
What?
Yeah.
Where at?
Yeah, so I moved from Orlando to Gainesville literally overnight. I left my computer, all my stuff, went to visit them because I was in panic mode, right? Everyone's graduating. I've just disappointed my parents. The movie's over.
And you became a police officer?
Yeah, so 2 weeks later, I was enrolled in the police academy.
Means carrying a pistol? Like full deal?
Full. I went to 6 months, the police academy for 6 months, did a 180. And then after the police academy, I graduated. And at that point, it doesn't mean you can become a cop. You're certified as a law enforcement officer. But that just means you're certified. You have that diploma, which is good for 4 years in the state of Florida. But now you have to apply to agencies.
Wow.
And there's still the hiring process and everything. So I applied to the local sheriff's office in Alachua County. And my main fear was the polygraph because
don't they ask you, like, have you smoked marijuana, things like that?
And have you sold marijuana and these things, and they will disqualify you, right, if you answer. And so that's why I said, I'll never be a cop. You know, I've done all these things. You know, I experienced it all. I did. And I said, this sucks because I'm not actively engaged in this. I have that experience.
Yeah.
You know, I know what to look for. I think I'm more qualified. But, you know, that's the rules and that's how it goes. So yeah, that was always my fear. But he's like, listen, my dad had administered polygraphs for 30 years in his time in law enforcement. We'll beat it. He's like, we'll talk to him. So we called him one night, and yeah, he gave some advice.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it sounded kind of wacky because he's like, all right, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to tighten your butt when you lie. He's like, put tacks in your shoes and do this. And
I swear I've seen the tax thing on a movie.
I'm like, there's no fucking way this is ever going to work. Like, I'm going to get fucking arrested in there, and then the gig's up. I just wasted all this time. So at this point, I'm panicking because my application's in at the sheriff's office. I'm moving through the hiring process.
What are you, like 22, 23?
21, 22.
Yeah, okay.
And I was great in the police academy.
Wow.
Yeah. And had some, I think, good recommendations from instructors there, you know, who are active law enforcement officers, either at the sheriff's office or within the county. And so, yeah, I made it through the hiring process. And so now last step is polygraph. Done everything else. So this is judgment day.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked almost 6 months. Figure 7 months after graduating to the application process. So it all comes down to this. And in my mind, I'm like, if I fuck this up,
yeah,
it's over. It's on my record. No one's hiring this guy. Like, he lied.
Yeah.
So leading up to this, I read all the information on the internet. You know, I'm Googling beat a polygraph, like left and right. Like, if the FBI was ever watching my computer, like, this guy should never fucking be a police officer. So I come up with this idea that I'm going to pick a crazy number that's odd, like 4,677. And I'm going to count backwards by multiples of 9. And I'm going to do this in between every question they ask. So my brain is just focused on addition or subtraction.
Yeah.
You know?
4,668.
Boom. And just keep going.
4,659.
And I don't know why I came up with this. It was, you know, I obviously read something or saw a video and I believed whoever was saying it. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. You know, or I've read it enough. So, God, this is such a crazy story. This is wild. So I'm going through the polygraph. It's a woman who's administering it. and I'm sweating, like I'm about to pass out.
Like, how long is
back
this?
of my knees.
How many questions to ask you? Is this a long thing?
So she brings me back. She's taping me up to the machine.
I know they calibrate it. What's your name? Is this your name?
And she's like trying to befriend me
Yeah.
and talk to me. And the whole time I'm paranoid, because I'm about to pass out.
Yeah.
She has no idea what I'm holding in, and she's trying to relax. She's like, "Oh, I got nothing to worry about."
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like she
Giving
wants
her
to
the
fail me
Robert
so
De Niro.
bad. Yeah. I'm like,
Meet the
oh god.
Fockers. Yeah.
So she's got me even more nervous. And it starts out a series of 10 control questions. And she's like, listen, I'm going to ask you 10 questions. Just answer no on every one. She's like, even if it's a lie, just answer no. There's just control questions, no pressure.
Yeah.
So it's like, is the sky blue? Like, no. But as we're going through these, I'm just answering them. And then in between them, I don't know if I'm supposed to start doing what I think I'm doing now. So I'm just counting backwards.
Yeah.
Doing this. And so I'm doing this in between questions. And then it starts off, is there anything you've lost? It's probably 10 or 15 questions total. It's not many. But in between each question, there's like a 15 to 30 second pause of silence.
Yeah, to where you could marinate on your stuff and where if your heart's going up and shit.
Right, for you to shit your pants.
Yeah, so that's why you counting backwards would probably work, where you're like not thinking about all the things that they're thinking about asking next.
Right.
That's interesting.
And so, I'm seated in this chair. She's behind me. I'm looking at a blue wall or something. But I'm counting backwards, right? And so this is going on, and we're like to question 10. And my heart is not slowing down. This is only getting worse as this drags on. This is not going well for me. At least that's what I believe. So, at one point I answered a question, and I thought I was telling the truth, but then I realized I lied, or at least I thought I lied. And it was, can anyone later in life be able to blackmail you for something that you did when you were younger? And I said no. But then I was like, wait a second, yes. I said, Miss, I lied. She's like, okay, well, I really appreciate your honesty. What'd you lie about? So she stops, and I said, well, I was in this relationship in high school, my ex-girlfriend, and at one point she said if I threatened to tell everybody, I forget what it was over, she was going to tell everyone and say I have a small penis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the woman came embarrassed, and she's like, that's not what I'm talking about. That's totally irrelevant. I was like, well, that just popped in my mind. Yeah. And she threatened to start a rumor over it. So I thought that was something that, I'm not saying it would hinder me. I could care less, but yeah. And she's like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. But I think that confused her so much that I brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that attributed to it, but she said in the end, she's like, yeah, you did great, blah, blah, blah.
And you became a cop.
Yeah, so then I became a cop.
7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. Worked for 2 different sheriff's offices. Crazy experience. Changed me completely as a person.
Yeah.
I was always driven since a little kid to help people. And I got to see my best friend do it. He was the one, who inspired me to do it. But yeah, it was nothing that I could have ever experienced.
This is in Gainesville?
Yeah, in Gainesville, and then Union County, which is just north of Gainesville, rural central Florida. And I worked predominantly night shift, and I was very proactive. I was oftentimes eager, wanted to impress my sergeant, lieutenant, and people, so I was a go-getter. I wanted to get the bad guy.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the first to the scene to save the people.
What did you experience most down there? What types of...
A lot of domestic violence.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of drugs, but in terms of calls for service, a lot of domestic violence.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a necessary profession. We need that layer of government, in our society and enforcement. But
what took you out of it?
Yeah, it changed me a lot as a person, and I realized that I was unable to separate what I was seeing and experiencing, especially at a very young age. So I went through a period of, here I am, this loving, accepting person, comes from the most beautiful family. I've been raised and conditioned to love everybody. I don't judge, skin color, background, religion, none of that matters.
Yeah.
I give a shit. And now here I am 3 years after being a law enforcement officer, and I'm becoming angry and pissed off, and I'm starting to develop biases, right?
Yeah.
And I'm unable to separate and understand that I'm just dealing with maybe people at their lowest point in all this because it's constant.
Yeah.
And struggling to maintain relationships outside of work. I'm always on guard, you know, when I walk in a room or anywhere, and angry. And I also witnessed just a lot of injustices and racism and privilege, and just saw that the whole system and culture was broken. And I think my friend realized that at the time too. He worked for the university, but then he worked for a city that was neighboring the county I worked in.
Yeah.
And then he worked for the state while he's in law school. But we both came to terms and realized that we can't change this. We can't change the system. And the only way to do that would become a lawmaker and, you know, create policy and pass laws. So after he graduated law school, he moved back to South Florida and took a job as an associate attorney at a law firm. And I moved back down there. And we decided that we were going to figure out how to run a political campaign. So he ran for a political office, Florida House of Representatives.
Wow.
And we had no idea what we were doing. He ran in a district that was predominantly Hispanic against an incumbent who was Hispanic and had been the, you know, state representative for the prior 4 years. And we just decided we're going to figure it out. So for a year we campaigned, just met as many people as possible, and really took the time to connect and try to understand what the immediate needs are, the constituents, what's ongoing, you know, throughout the district. Yeah. And what needs to get done. And somehow we won. And next thing you know, we went to Tallahassee and passed a bunch of great laws and learned the political process for 4 years.
That's what you did, 4 years where you were involved in that?
Yeah, so I left law enforcement and then worked on his political campaign, and then for 4 years in Tallahassee, from 2012 to 16, he was a state representative.
Wow.
And so, crazy. But got to learn the whole process, you know, from the legislative side and then even the private side. So did that for 4 years, and after that term, he decided that he wanted to move back to where he's from, South Florida, and didn't want to move on to Congress or further his political aspirations. Yeah. So he wanted to spend time with his wife. So he ran for county commission, became the mayor of Palm Beach County. Wow. And and then I started doing marketing for large law firms down there.
Unreal.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely really have like a wild, you know, resume of things that you've done.
Yeah, it's been literally everything. And so after that, I was doing marketing, business development for a really, really large personal injury firm in Florida.
You said this is like 2016, around there?
Yes, this is 2016.
Okay. You familiar with Edgar Snyder?
Up here, yeah. I've seen his billboards, his advertising, but have yet to meet him.
Hell yeah.
From 16 to 2020, basically was doing the corporate law firm thing, just schmoozing doctors and attorneys, entertaining them. Yeah. Trying to generate referrals.
Grinding.
Yeah, but it was like a movie. It was a lot of fun. I was overpaid.
Wow.
Yeah, dream come true, especially for a guy without a college degree. I was very, very fortunate to develop the relationships I did. And then got married in 2017.
You got married in 2017?
Yeah, I got married in 2017. 2019, her mother ended up getting cancer, and ended up being terminal cancer. So we went through a lot. Ended up getting separated. So then it was in 2020, I want to say I got divorced. And was that when the pandemic hit? Yeah. 2020. So, life gets even crazier. Pandemic hits.
You were still in Florida?
Still in Florida. Law firm I'm working for, one of the partners installs hidden cameras, or allegedly does, in all of the female employees' offices.
Holy shit.
So it blows up all over the internet. It's like a John Grisham novel. There's all these articles over it. But, it becomes this whole big thing where,
my goodness,
people are leaving, you know, just lots of craziness. So end up having to vacate that job, go through a divorce. It was a lot all at once.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
As you can imagine. And after that, I was pretty wrecked financially. Divorce didn't end great either. But after that, I had this crazy idea that I was going to move to the west coast of Florida and start a donut business.
Donuts.
Had no capital, had no borrowing power, had no money, no experience.
No, that's what I was going to ask. Do you ever make a donut before?
No, love donuts, but it was after this whole experience, I think, then where I said, you know what, I just want to do something where I have the freedom to interact with people in a kind, positive manner every day.
Yeah.
And when people are getting their donuts or their coffee,
when could they be mad?
It's always great vibes, and you have the best conversations.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, and I'm always like, man, I wish I worked there.
Yeah, it's like you're not working at the DMV where people are like, Jesus, get me out of here.
Right.
You're walking in and getting a sweet treat.
Yeah, so every time I would grab coffee over the years of donuts, like on my way to work or something, I'm like, man, I wish I had that life. And I would tell people that and be like, no, I wish I had your life. And we'd argue back and forth. But I decided I was going to do this, but it was also, I think, a test to myself, because over the years, all the success or whatever you want to call it professionally after getting out of law enforcement was because of friends and relationships.
Yeah.
That's how I got my foot in the door, and
network is your net worth.
Yeah. And so I felt like I was very dependent on so many other people professionally to take care of myself and to make a living. And that was scary, And so my perspective after the divorce and having to walk away from the corporate job, I said, yeah, I got relationships, Lena, but what do I do if these aren't there?
Yeah.
Things go south. So, I decided to move to the west coast of Florida. Didn't know anybody. Everyone told me I was crazy. Even consulted with some people that had built up franchises and sold them. And they said, you need at least 250 grand borrowing power, and wouldn't recommend you do this.
Yeah.
You're not equipped to do it. But, I think I had this vision in my head, and I had just been through so much and been knocked down so much that I said,
just looking for anything to do.
Yeah, and I'm going to try. Like, what do I have to lose right now? I just got wrecked.
Absolutely.
And so I go over there, and I think I had like $237 to my name. And so I Google closest donut shop, drive to the donut shop, and meet the owner. His name's Fing. And Fing's been making donuts since he's a young boy in California. Family had a business, or like uncle. And I want to say Fing's probably in his 40s, early 40s. And he's been running this business for like probably over a decade. Kind of in this rural small town right outside of St. Pete, Florida. And he caters to all the locals who are predominantly older. I want to say like 60 plus. Who wake up every morning to get their coffee, their donut, their breakfast.
It's part of the routine.
Yeah. And he's open from 7 to noon. He's the only employee, only been the employee. Everything's dirt cheap. And whatever he's got left over, he throws out every day. And then comes in the next day, makes it fresh again. And so place isn't good. There's no signs outside. Isn't good in terms of advertising. No website, no real presence on the internet. Driving by, you never know this exists. On Google, it was like probably the 8th, mention for a business down, but all the other ones were like Dunkin', or like a commercial franchise.
Absolutely.
So I go there and I tell him, hey, my name's Dave, and I'm going to start a donut business. Can I resell your donuts? He's like, why would you want to do that? He's like, absolutely not. I said, but I'll buy them. I'll buy as many as you need. Like, would you do that? He's like, why do you want to do this? I said, to make a living. He's like, well, go start your own donut shop. I was like, I don't have any money. I was like, help me.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I can't. And so he's kind of like perplexed at it. And he said, all right, I don't care what you do. I said, okay, great. I think we're going to build like the next Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, he said that you could buy them and you could resell
and then
them.
I was like, great, we're going to build the next Dunkin' Donuts.
What was your idea of how you wanted to resell his donuts?
So I came up with this idea that going to get his donuts, and now I'm going to create a donut brand. And the way in which I'm going to sell them is, first I'm going to meet everybody in the city, every business owner, every person. I'm going to walk the sidewalks in the streets downtown and go up, introduce myself to everybody, and ask them if they're willing to sample a donut on camera. And so I did this over the course of like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and spent like 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I walked around with his donuts in the white box without any logo or anything. And I told people that, hey, these are Mad Cow donuts. They're made with love. They're
That's this guy's brand?
That was my made up brand.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, okay, yeah.
And I said, would be humbled if you'd be willing to try one and give an honest review on camera for our Instagram. I said, I'm sure you've heard of us. We're coming to town. I'll be opening up in about a week, and you'll be able to order them via Instagram online for next day delivery. And I'm sure very soon we'll be at all your favorite coffee shops.
Yeah.
And people would try them and be like, oh my God, it's so good. You know, it's a donut. It's great. And they were really good donuts. Shout out Fang, you make great donuts, man. And so I posted all these reviews, created an Instagram, took pictures of them on the floorboard of my car because I didn't even have anywhere to take the photo. And did it for 3 days, passing them out. I'd put up like 50 reviews in the story every day. You know, just like the little 30-second clips or whatever's allotted. And it was that Monday. So I did this for 3 days straight. That Monday, I go out to buy a shirt now. And I got a logo. So it's Mad Cow Donuts. And it's just a flying saucer picking up a cow.
Yeah.
I have no idea why. It was like the first like stock photo that came up on Google, something similar. I said, okay, that's easy to do, doing that. You know, I don't want to have analysis paralysis, try to come up with the name. So it's Mad Cow Donuts made with a boom. That's what we're doing. So I go to like a t-shirt place. I want this. Can you put this on a t-shirt? It's like $25, whatever. So I buy it, do it, put the shirt on, go to get lunch. Sitting down and a woman comes up to me. I'm seated outside, like on a patio in Florida, on a busy street, and she's got her daughter with her, and she says, or maybe it was her granddaughter. She says, Mad Cow Donuts, do you work for them? I said, actually, I do. Yes, ma'am, I do. And she says, those are the best donuts we've ever had.
Wow. And
so that's what I said. I'm like, wow, you know, it's amazing. And I'm thinking like, wait, that doesn't even make sense. There is no such thing. I said, really? When did you try them? She's like, oh, we've been having them for years. And so now I'm thinking, Dave, you idiot. This already exists. Like, you can't do this. There must be a Mad Cow Donuts.
Yeah.
So I'm like panicking and I get on my phone and I'm like Googling Mad Cow Donuts. I'm searching the internet, can't find it. I'm like, wait a second. It doesn't make any sense. So I ran back over to her and I asked her, I said, where did you have them though? Mad Cow Donuts, you know? And I forget what she said. She changed her tune, but she's like, my daughter had them. So it wasn't her now, it was like her daughter.
Yeah.
But I couldn't help but think she's making this up, but I'm not, and I'm not sure why, but that's incredible because there's no other Mad Cow Donuts. So it was after that, next thing you know, I got a call from like a news station and a few of the local blogs and newspapers wanting to do articles.
So people started seeing it on there and that's where it came from.
So the branding started to take off just from, I think, the conversations. The Instagram started to blow up. So yeah, then next thing you know, I'm now a donut delivery driver. And you know,
how long does that
everything
last?
So did it for about 3 months. I imported, made enough money the first month to import a Subaru Sandbar, a Japanese microvan.
Wow.
Actually didn't import it. I'm sorry. I bought it from a couple who had a Disney Kona Ice franchise.
Huh.
And so they had imported it to make like a Kona Ice thing. And then the pandemic hit. So they had to close it because Disney didn't allow it. So I bought that from them. And I totally missed a part. So prior to going over to St. Pete to do all that, I had COVID for 10 months.
10 months?
Like on and off. Wasn't like in the hospital on a respirator, but had
the long COVID.
2 surgeries, biopsies. Yeah, because I was having all these symptoms without explanation.
Jeez.
And red and white blood cells off. So yeah, long COVID, ongoing nightmare.
My goodness.
Yeah, so have the donuts for 3 months, get this Japanese microvan, start to get into like coffee shops, but I make some bad business moves along because I'm trying to figure this out. I have no consultants. I don't know what I'm doing. In over my head for sure. It takes off bigger than I could have imagined. And month 3, I get COVID again. Comes back, hits me. Testing negative, but all the symptoms. Now I'm like fever, laying in the bathtub, can't get out for days straight. Then going to the ER, coming back.
Yeah.
So I have to quarantine for 14 days. Had to cancel at a bar and bat mitzvah scheduled, weddings, like all these events, you know. So I just shut it down. And then I felt like, man, too much time's gone by. I'm not going to be able to bring this back.
Yeah.
So it's probably a month later, finally the symptoms subsided. But I felt like too much time lapsed. So I was like, I'm shutting it down, you know, and it just became too much.
Yeah.
You know, to try to figure that out on my own.
Yeah, the scale.
So ended up selling off the microvan. Fortunately, didn't have any equipment, because I was basically just picking the donuts up. But after that, I said I need a breather after battling COVID again. And my biological sister, whom I found out about, lives in Pittsburgh. And this is
that's how you come up here?
So I came up here. Well, we connected in 2015.
Yeah.
When the parents reached out, but I decided I was going to come up to Pittsburgh and just come visit. I'd usually visit since 2015. I'd say like once or twice a year we link up.
Yeah.
And so I said, going to come up and visit and kind of figure out what I want to do. Maybe I'll try to bring back the donuts, in Pittsburgh. And so, came up here and never envisioned living outside of Florida or moving. Never in a million years.
When did you move up here?
About 3 years ago.
3 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
So 3 years ago, came up, had my dog, my car, literally a backpack. I'd gotten rid of a lot of my stuff. I was like a minimalist. I said, an idea I had was potentially just traveling the U.S., going to like all the national parks, and just doing something like that and finding odd jobs along the way, maybe documenting it.
Yeah.
Try to be like an Anthony Bourdain, that was like, maybe I'll do that.
Just
that was
living.
like an overnight, like crazy idea. And, but yeah, so I came up here to visit. First night in Pittsburgh, car gets broken into. I got all my clothes, my laptop in it. Everything gets taken.
That was the news article that you posted on your Instagram.
Probably.
Said first time on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw that. So
wow.
Yeah, that happened.
That was your first night you move up here?
First night. I don't know I'm moving up here. I'm first night visiting, staying with my sister.
Yeah, because in the news article, you're like, hey, if there's any business owners that need anything, reach out because I'm looking to be up here and I'm looking to live up here.
Yeah, and have no job, no career, no money, no means to survive.
Wow.
I'm starting over. Yeah, and so it was, car gets broken into.
What part of Pittsburgh?
Avalon,
yeah.
And so
Jesus.
This was like the first car breaking that happened in a long time. But fortunately, I'd been a cop, and I realized
I forgot about this whole thing of almost a decade as a police officer.
Right, but that shit still, even though, like that was a previous life. That wasn't my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm so removed from that.
Yeah, just like a random chapter.
Yeah, it was like a role I played in a movie for 7 years. But like that experience still stays with you. So
absolutely.
When this happens, all of a sudden the switch flips and I realize, hey, this is a small department, small town. They're not dealing with these all the times, but how much energy and attention are they going to give to Dave and the Honda from Florida? Who got his clothes stolen. Zero.
My buddy's car just got broken into twice in, I think, 2 weeks. And the cop was basically like, you're not going to really do anything because they didn't destroy it. They just stole his car, drove it somewhere. He tracked it twice through his Subaru app. And they were
Right.
like, yeah, you can't do nothing about it. The cop drove him there the one time while the kids were still in there. And they were all minors. So it's like, you could go through all this bullshit, but nothing could be done.
Right. And
Police is having or Pittsburgh is having a problem with their law enforcement as of, the last few years.
So I've heard.
If you or anyone that's listening hasn't found that out yet.
Yeah, so it I realized at the end of the day the ladies and gents that are working for this department, they're probably dealing with a lot more in their personal lives, at work and all this.
Hell yeah.
And
understaffed.
They're annoyed and don't want to deal with this.
Understaffed, underpaid.
Yeah, and it's tough. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
You're expected to do a lot for very little.
Absolutely.
And so, but I naturally got to call them. I'm pissed in that moment.
Yeah.
I have very little, and what very little I have has been taken, and I'm just feeling like I'm getting pounded in life, Yeah, you
ain't kidding.
And so, I go on like this mission to find the stuff, and eventually gets recovered, and then it's juveniles.
Oh, you did get it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But I didn't want to prosecute because obviously I did the same stuff. I stole.
Yeah.
So then after that, obviously bad first impression right out of the gates, but I then decided I think that I was going to pursue the donuts again. So I started going around trying to find a donut business. And in doing that, got a lot of hard no's. People just won't even give me the time of day, especially being not a Yenzer, from Florida. Like, everyone's guarded.
Yeah.
But in doing that, I found that the energy of people was different. And I was like, something special about this place. The weather sucks. You know, I'm freezing my balls off. It's like, it was like 65. You know, it wasn't bad, but I'm dying. 'Cause all I knew was Florida. And I just fell in love with the people. And then it was almost like I wanted to be challenged again. There's something about the challenge when it's not handed to you. And my life was very privileged in many ways. You know, I was fortunate to have this best friend, you know, who just went to the top. And I got to ride his coattails. And then because of the relationships that I built along the way, because of that nexus of him being a legislator and a prominent figure in the state and community, so it catapulted me to the top.
Yeah.
Because of I'm best friends with him.
Yeah.
And so now it was, hey, I got to be able to make a living for myself, take care of myself. Here we are again. Now it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, like what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah, so I'm like, you know what? I got this great resume. You know, I've been a cop, I've worked on the legislative side, I've been a lobbyist, had my own lobbying firm, I've done marketing for all these big law firms, had my own business. So I'll get hired anywhere, you know? Like, it's incredible. Relationships are everything. No one gave a shit about Dave.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just a piece of paper like the rest. Think I'm a big deal, but I'm not.
Yeah.
So it was a reality check. And I'm sitting here screaming like, what the heck's going on? You know, I'm almost 40 years old. I'm 37, 38 at the time, whatever. So I'm just like, that shit didn't matter. Everything that happened up until now does not matter. Unless I want to go back to Florida, but then live the same movie that I know.
Absolutely.
Around the same surroundings that I don't want to be around, you know? And so I'm like, this is crazy. This is a struggle. We're starting over now. Resume doesn't mean shit. You know, it's entry level if I want to do any of these things. So, next thing you know, I took a job serving. I think it might have been bar backing first and, you know, just like cleaning.
Yeah.
And bussing. And that's what I did. And then fell in love with it. Yeah, I fell in love with the people and the experience. And I loved it. It was like the camaraderie and just like, it was real people. And I said, I fucking really like this. I could do this for the rest of my life. Yeah. And I wasn't making any money. I was making horrible money. Yeah. You know, it was an Italian restaurant here. It was great people though, great family. I shouldn't say horrible money. It's Cafe Notte. Great people, great family. It's like Cheers meets Pittsburgh. Yeah. But what wasn't to make a lot of money compared to what I'd made in the past.
Absolutely.
So you're naturally comparing and thinking.
And that's usually what it is. It's like any job that's like tolerable that you could somewhat enjoy, you're not getting paid a good bit. You got to do some shit that you don't want to do to get paid because, you know.
Am I supposed to just be rambling like this?
Yeah, dude, this
isn't like rude or intrusive because I'm like, dude, I talk a lot, but like,
no, dude,
I almost like I'm inclined like, should I be asking you questions too?
Absolutely not. No, this is not the format. This is not my format. People don't care about me. You know, I'm more. I don't care. I know about me. Everyone knows about. You think you're about to be 269 on here, 269 episodes, and you know. This is why I feel like my podcast is kind of different than anyone else's in the city. I really just like, you know, it's long form.
I like it.
You know, everyone wants to keep like a hard hour. You know what I mean? They want, you know, an hour's too long for a lot of people, but I've never really put a time limit on it because, you know, these aren't really podcasts. These are like mini documentaries, dude. It's like I'm creating documentaries for people.
It's great. And like your like demeanor and like energy and everything. It's my first podcast, but it's a lot of fun.
I appreciate that. I'm glad that you enjoy it. Like, yeah, man, my focus is like, you know, if I wasn't asking you all these random ass questions, you know, we wouldn't understand, you know, kind of where you are. Obviously,
I am. Yeah,
you're successful right now through social media, documenting these like, you know, these great moments with these people. And like, yeah, you got a big ass Instagram following. That's great. But it's like, where did it come from before? Why did it create that? Right. What made you want to create that? And it's like, you know, I don't know. I think your story is fascinating. You're a cop, you're working for a legislator, like, you know, you're fucking off in school and like you don't know what you're doing. Then you create your own business. Everything about my podcast is purely just, you know, harvesting motivation out of people's lives.
Love it. Yeah. And I think that's how we're inspired the most is hearing the stories from one another and just
absolutely
people.
People want to hear about people that don't know what the fuck they were going to do 2 years ago that are thriving at what they're doing now. You know what I mean? It could be, you ever see that meme of that dude that's that has a pickaxe and he's like, you know, pulling away all the dirt and it's like, you know, if you go one more inch, it's like all the diamonds, but then there's the other guy that turns around because he just doesn't want to do all the work. You know, that's kind of what made me want to do this, as far as like digging deep into people's lives. Like I've interviewed people like, you know, the owners of like Dagnys, which is a famous Italian place in Pittsburgh, but it's like everyone knows about Dagnys, but it's like, I want to talk about the guy that's behind Dagnys. Like, why did Dagnys become? Like, what did you do before? You know what I mean?
I love that.
Full circle. Do not feel bad about rambling. Right. You're right on schedule with everything, but you know, it's fascinating to me. Like, that's really why I just do what I do, and that's why I kind of.
Yeah, now it's funny not to, or I'm cutting you off.
No, absolutely. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, before coming on here, actually driving here, I was about to call my girlfriend and be like, "Hey, what should I not talk about?"
Yeah.
And I elected to not call her, and I'm like, "Man, well, I don't want to say this, or I should leave this out because I could risk maybe not pleasing a certain demographic of people that follow me who don't know me."
Yeah.
Right? Because I've been fortunate over the last couple of months to connect with people all over the world through the content that I'm putting out. But in doing so, sharing very little about myself.
Yeah.
And in real life, I'm a talker. I love connecting with people and sharing. But I became very guarded and afraid of not pleasing somebody.
Yeah. But
in doing this tonight, I said, "No, we gotta keep it 100."
Yeah,
because I think at the end of the day, I want people to really know me, but I hope it'll inspire others to know that, like, you got to keep going. Life is gonna be a struggle and tough.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, it's.
Because, like, I mean, like we were saying before, you like, if I could look at your Instagram, I scrolled back to the very beginning, to the first photo you had, that was just a selfie of you. But after that, you notice that the only thing you're posting is reels of other people. Yeah. So I don't know you. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. The only thing you could find about people nowadays is what you gather from their social media pages. And whenever I find a guest, that's exactly what I do. I go to their Instagram, I see what I like about them, I see if these people are pieces of shit that I even wanted to talk about, if I even want to talk to them, you know, and often there's people that you don't get like a good read of people, especially someone who is creating something and is conforming to, like, you know, a template. I call it a template, but like
100%.
A schedule where it's like, you know, you're particular about what you post, about what your timeline looks like, what your profile page looks like, because that's your business. That's what you're trying to do. You want to stick to what you're doing. You post reels of other people, but often people don't give enough time of themselves. Like, all these people that are watching all these great videos that you're putting out, I'm positive that everyone's like, who is the dude behind all this?
Right.
Because like, you know, you don't get a lot of that. You know what I mean?
You know, and it's true, and that's what I care about most with businesses and stuff. Like, just like you said, I want to know the owner of that business and who they are at their core. That's what matters most. And I think our generations and the younger generations, we care about character and integrity and all these things.
That's what it is. I don't want to go on Yelp. You know what I mean? I don't want no bullshit on Yelp. I don't want to see what other people are telling me this thing is. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. You know, I want to see how everything is made and done from, you know, from the ground up. It's and who's going to tell it better?
Right. I started to get emotional because I was thinking about it's funny on my Instagram. I used to post. I was pretty vulnerable. I'd share a lot about my life, you know, but I still filtered out many things. Hardly any of us are showcasing our low points and getting on there and saying, "Hey, you know, this is going on."
It's a highlight reel, dude.
But I started to do that, and when I did it, it would get the most engagement, most likes. But I painted myself in such a vulnerable light to where it was all these people that would never take the time to view, like, or comment are now saying they feel connected, or they're offering sympathy or whatever it may be, because they're perceiving as me sharing whatever it may be as struggling in that moment, which there's probably truth to that. But then I became so, I think, embarrassed by it that I'd archive it. Because I was like, I don't want anyone to see me in a vulnerable light. You know, I want them to see me as this tough exterior, you know, this guy Dave who's got it all together.
Yeah.
So then when I started doing this and it started to get traction, and, you know,
talk to me about that. Where does the idea of this start?
So,
like, where does this come from? So
my time in Pittsburgh over the past, you figure, like 2 years, I I jump around at a bunch of restaurants, bars, bar backing, serving.
Yeah.
And I realize how brutal it is and how much of a grind it is for all these people trying to make a living. And it's rough. It's not easy. And I'm trying to survive too. Unfortunately, I got one of the most supportive, loving girlfriends someone could ask for, who's probably kind of kept me alive in many ways. But in doing all that, I worked at a dispensary. I was selling weed for 8 months, which I thought was a trip because here I went from selling weed in college,
selling weed,
being a cop and forcing it, and then selling it again.
Yeah, legally. It's a wild full circle moment.
Yeah, but I basically did every job, not by choice because I had to survive. Crazy. But it eventually led to this point where I went through some really low moments of just reflecting back on my life and saying, man, I'm almost 40 years now. I don't have the family and kids like all my friends. I don't have the assets. I don't have the retirement. I've made all these bad decisions. If only I could have done this. So I have all this regret and shame.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of us, we postpone our happiness. And we do a lot of damage to ourselves because of the lack of forgiving ourselves and carrying that shame and guilt. And I was really going through that because I'm struggling now, right? Life's not easy. I don't have that cush job just paying me all this money.
Yeah.
To be friends, it's now survival. And that's life. But I reached this point that no one's coming to save me. My parents can't help me. They're much older in Florida, battling health issues now, staying alive, keeping the vehicle afloat, you know, and life's real. They're not equipped to even hear their son struggling. So it's kind of this like reality check. It's like, man, we really are all going to die. You know, it's inevitable. And it's like, if I go to bed tonight and I really say, hey, you've done everything you've did today to give yourself the best shot at happiness and making yourself proud. And this is it. You know, you're not going to wake up tomorrow. Could I look myself in the mirror and say, hey, you know, I've done it all. I'm really proud. And my answer was the opposite. I'm crying. I'm upset. I'm mad. All this shame and guilt. And I was like, I can change this, or at least I could try.
Yeah.
You know, and I have to. What else am I going to do? And so it was, one day I looked at my girlfriend and I said, I'm going to do this, but I'm really going to commit to following through and executing and working hard and ignoring what happens because this is what makes me feel good. You know, ever since I was a little boy, I want to be like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's kind of crazy. I'm in Pittsburgh. It's where he's from. You know, I'm going to do this. And just went out one day and I think I struck out. No one wanted to talk to me, you know.
With the same mindset that you wanted to ask people about, you know, love in their life? Was that how?
I think it was from all the experiences during my time in Pittsburgh, working all these, just a tough job, you know, trying to survive for a couple of years and being humbled. I took on a new perspective, but what I came to realize and connecting with a lot of people, just having done that over the years, getting to know people from all walks of life, is that unhappiness and sadness and struggle is common. You know, I've been around people that were several $100 million, you know, we're neighbors with some of the most famous people. Got to meet people from all walks of life, but some of the wealthiest are the most broken, and unfulfilled and unhappy. And so, I realized that as humans, it doesn't matter where we're from, our race, religion, how much money we have, we all struggle. And I started thinking more and more about it and said, hey, what could I do to contribute to society, to really reach the kids and all these people that are vulnerable, and that's all of us, to really maybe ask a thought-provoking question that could, in that moment, help them escape what's going on in their lives. But and I don't really know how that question came about. I think I just thought about it as a human, and what is something that I think we all struggle with, and it's self-love. It's being forgiving of ourselves, and, you know, letting go of the past and being kind and gentle. Because life's hard. You know, when you're constantly having to keep going and fight through and push through, you lose sight of that. So it was reflecting on the work I think I had to do with myself and saying, hey, I'm not unique. I'm just like everybody else, you know? And I was like, that's just what I'm going to do. Because I think it's that important for all of us, especially like the kids.
Yeah.
But first couple of days you go out, I was trying to approach families with their kids, and naturally you have a 40-year-old man. And I think I started growing my beard then. So, and, I'm covered in tattoos, and I wasn't hiding them, but I didn't realize how some people may judge me.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like awkward. So, after 2 days of going around, it was a nightmare. People were like freaked out, didn't want to talk to me. And so I wanted to give up. I said, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And
this is 5 months ago you started this.
Yeah, 5 months ago. And so actually, at the time, up until 5 months ago, I was, and during that time, I started a marketing agency here. So I was helping businesses with digital marketing, social media, business development. Mm-hmm. But it was very boutique. It was 5 to 7 businesses, and then it ultimately became really just one. Yeah. That I was focused on. But yeah, in doing that, I was like, I really want to do this. This has been in the back of my mind. So I decided to completely do away with that, and that I was just going to dedicate at least 90 days every day and never give up, never stop, and see what happens. And so I went to my girlfriend and I said, hey, I know this is going to sound crazy. I'm 40 years old, or turning 40 at the time, can't remember. But this is what I want to do. And obviously there's no guarantee or promise that this is going to amount to anything. Yeah. But I don't care about money. I really want to do this because I believe in it. And I'm hoping that you'll just support me, and help maybe cover the load with some bills around the house and stuff. Because I don't envision, making any money doing this, nor do I want any. I just want to do it for 90 days and not have to think about anything else. And she said, okay. So we talked about it, and I think she's probably reluctant at first.
How many followers do you have at this time when you started?
Probably maybe 170 or 230 or something, 225. And I tried to get it up.
Just 225, right?
Yeah, and I tried to get it up. One day I said I was going to vlog every day of my life before doing this. And I started making these vlogs all throughout the day, and they were dope, And I'd post it, but no one liked it. Your friends, they probably watch it, but no one gives a shit. Yeah. Can't bear to like it.
100%.
Yeah. And so it fucking threw me, and then I deleted them all. I did it for 7 days. I said I'm going to do this every day. And they were so dope. At the end of the day, I'd be so proud of what I made.
Yeah, but no one's there to look at it.
Yeah, but the problem is, too often we put the audience first. We're thinking about other people when it's just make yourself proud. Do what you like and put the art out there that you love.
Oh, yeah.
And so I struggle with that. My girlfriend always get mad at me. She's like,
I don't do a single bit of this for anyone but me.
Right.
This is very selfish. This is a selfish project.
Yeah.
And my whole thought of that from the beginning is I knew that whenever I started this, there was going to be 2 years of just no one listening to it.
Right.
I would get 10 listens an episode, and 3 of them would be my mother and father and a relative. And then, I would just create this work every week, bust my ass, schedule, record, edit, all this stuff, put it out there, and no one would listen to it. And it's in those moments where we're all just trudging through the mud, of when all those people are not listening to it. That's really what separates, the boys from the men.
Yeah.
Where it's people are I'm going to give up now because no one really cares what I'm doing. But it's my whole thing from the beginning is I'm not getting paid in the beginning anyway. I'm going to just work at this, playing the long game. And it ended up working out, and it is working out. But it's that's the mindset you have to have, because if you start something and you're got to do this for some money, and you're not getting anything in the beginning, you're not even doing it for yourself. You're just, you're thinking about the audience. You're not making what you want to make. And it's just crazy to me that I'm going to bust my ass and put in all this time, and you're going to bust your ass and put in all the time that you're doing to not just create something you want if people aren't going to look at it anyway. You know what I mean?
Right. It's and I think it's something that we all can grapple with at times, because we naturally think about how we're going to be perceived doing this.
Yeah.
And we got a reputation and stuff. But I think for me it was just a culmination of things. But I said, to prove to myself, I really got to stick to something that I believe in and see it all the way through and keep doing it. And
do you ask everyone the same question?
Yeah, for the most part, I pretty much have stuck to the same questions. There's a lot of other things that I'm going to do here very soon. I think I've struggled a little bit with veering away from the format and the structure of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because like this pressure you put on yourself, right? This imagined number going up, you know?
Yeah.
And stuff. And it's like, well, could I blow all this up?
Well, when did this start from, like, if you had 225 followers and like you started making these videos, how quickly do you get to where you are? I mean, obviously 5 months, you said you started this, and in 5 months you've gained 125,000 followers. Pretty incredible. Some of your videos got 30 million views. That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane to think about that. When do you get the first pop? Is it pretty quickly?
No. Yeah, I didn't get like that any sort of gratification. I think in the beginning, he was probably like my mom. My mom was the biggest fan, liking all the posts.
Hell yeah. Shout outs to a good mom.
But it was like the second or third day, crazy shit happened where I actually lost sight. That's why I can't even tell you when it happened. I totally lost sight of that. And it was something that I was concerned about, like checking notifications and views, you know?
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah.
You know, want a lot of it.
Yeah.
And almost need it because I'm chasing that validation. But it was like the second or third day, I met a gentleman and his daughter. And it was just a life-changing interaction where he was going through a really tough time and took the time to reach out to me afterwards, send me a DM. And I don't even think we recorded a video, I'm not sure. But yeah, he was just like asking for a sign from the universe to get that validation that he's a good father and doing good. And we ended up having like a whole conversation off camera. And he thanked me. And I remember crying in bed and showed my girlfriend. And I was like, dude, this shit is actually bigger than life. And then it was like the next day. Yeah, it's like I could get choked up now because it's like all these conversations had off camera with humans going through so much that we would never know about unless we took the time to stop and listen. And if I'm not doing this, I'm going about my day. I don't give a shit about the guy at the pump at the gas station or the other person walking. We're all stuck in our ways. But when you're dedicating all this time to just wanting to hear and listen to everybody, it becomes overwhelming because you're like, well, wait a second. Wow, there's people going through a lot more, and they don't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah.
And it just became this thing where I was like, you know, I get messages from all over the world. People start opening up and sharing, and I'm sitting there, you know, responding to all of them. And eventually got to a point where I had to learn, like, I got to shut the notifications off. I can't do this. This isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it just opened my eyes to a lot. And all of a sudden, I found my whole mindset shift again. And I'm like, wait a second. This is, I can't stop doing this. You know? And it's because of the conversations that are had off camera. It's literally therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm not a licensed therapist. Some would argue I'm probably very unqualified to be giving, you know, a lot of relationship advice in general. But
it is therapy, though.
No, it is, and it's healing for me too. It's so, it's so special. It's so real and authentic and raw.
Yeah.
And with everything that's going on in the world, everything that we're fed, you know, it's a crazy place, crazy times we live in. And just all the stress of life, everything that's constantly on our minds to keep going and our responsibilities. It's just, I think we all need that reminder to stop and just realize what really matters before it's too late.
Yeah, and just like be present, like have a chance to have that opportunity for someone to jog our memory, to just be present for a second and, like, you know, to really reflect on what we're thankful for.
Right. And so it was probably, I couldn't even tell. It was maybe after like 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks it started popping off.
Yeah, I think it was maybe a video on like TikTok when what was the one that went? Yeah. I honestly think I stopped paying attention to it. I was fixated on like the first couple of days, as I can imagine most people are that have a profile or posting, you know, or doing anything as a creator. But after that next interaction, it was just like, random DMs, and like it would just be these conversations with people here in Pittsburgh. families, someone just overcame cancer, or someone's son or daughter just committed suicide a week ago.
Yeah.
And they open up, and next thing you know, I'm talking to them for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Which some would argue that's crazy. And sure, my girlfriend at times was like, time management, like, what are you doing?
It's just powerful to be able to like communicate with someone and on like an extended level, you know what I mean? Like just random people. Like, I don't know if it was like similar for you, but like, I think about like, back in like MySpace days or like AIM and things like that. And you would like meet someone online that you would be, that you would like, it would be like a friendship some way. And it was just like a person that you had no idea who they were, but that you could be the most vulnerable with and tell them, you just meet them and you tell them about like the darkest shit that you're thinking about.
And you
like,
feel connected to this.
You feel connected, and it's like someone that you don't even know, but it's like just that conversation that you have. It's almost like, the people that are close with you almost, like we were talking about before, you don't want to have that like level of vulnerability where you could like open yourself up to like judgment or like, for people to think that you're not as strong as you want them to think. But your opportunity to speak to all these people, it really like, that moment kind of like sets the ground for, where that's going to be. Some people are going through tough things, and that gives you an opportunity to feel those emotions. And then you see, I'm sure more often than the negative, you see all the positive of people that are just like, just completely in love and that are just happy to be together. Now, in this moment where, you're establishing yourself and this is becoming like, you're a couple months in and you know what you're doing and the thing that you have to execute here.
Well, don't know what I'm doing.
Well, you're figuring it out. I mean, you're figuring it out for sure. It's great what it is.
Waking up like everyone else, unsure.
Well, that's what it is. And that's like part of the fun of it all. But it's like, how do you, determine the mechanics of this, as far as like your thought of, obviously you're doing this for the good of like, what you want to do. And you just want to have these conversations with people. But on the other end of it all, it's like, eventually, I'm sure, as anyone would like to do, you'd like to monetize this and make money.
Make a living doing what I love.
Making a living doing what you love. But it's like, how does your mindset come into play as far as like the mechanics of what you want to do? Do you set aside like a schedule, like I'm going to be out for 9 hours a day, or you're just like, I need to get 2 videos done today. I need to talk to 2 different people. Talk to me a little bit about your mindset as far as that end of it.
Yeah. So, generally, and I don't know why it became that kind of format, two reels on Instagram a day, or like 3 TikTok videos, which I've come to realize like I want to post more content. And there's lots I want to share and lots I want to do, but I have to get better at managing my time and prioritizing. But
because right now you're just like you interviewed me and Antoinette, and within like a half hour it was just up. So are you just posting all these reels in real time? You're not like backlogging videos? Yeah, see, like I love that. I don't backlog anything. Met you yesterday. We're talking to this. This is the episode that's coming out this week.
My girlfriend want to kill me here and there because she's told me like you should do that because she's an engineer by trade and she's very like analytical,
calculated.
Yeah, and she is organized, time management. But this just has become this like magic carpet ride where, I was able to push away all the stress and everything about life and just go about my day trying to connect with everybody.
Yeah.
And listen and and just try to keep it off the cuff and authentic. So it's like, we met at Dagnys. I go to Dagnys because she's the best. Great place. And her and I will chum it up in the mornings and shoot the shit. And it's kind of like therapy. We'll just talk about life, whatever.
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't hurt that she's got like one of the best breakfast sandwiches and all the food.
Shout out to
Pittsburgh.
Dagnys. Yeah. I asked her to come on here. She said, I might be up for that. So get in her ear a little bit. Tell her she needs to get on here.
But, it's I never really like leave the house saying like, oh, I got to get a video right now.
Yeah.
I just go out and sometimes I forget. And then, I'll see a couple standing there or an individual or somebody and just strike up a conversation. Sometimes just right out of the gates ask. So just kind of like go with the flow, But I think like probably 2 or 3 months in, when it, like when you have a viral video, a lot of people, I used to look at accounts that have a lot of followers and just wonder how much time, how'd they get there? How'd that happen? You know?
Yeah.
And I'd be envious of it and be like, man, like how'd you do that? And of course you like look on the internet or you see some like podcasts or people share, but through my experience, I've come to realize a lot of this is luck.
Yeah.
Complete luck, out of our control.
Yeah. I mean, we're fighting an algorithm.
Right.
That's like the main thing that you got to deal with.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of parallels to this algorithm in life.
Yeah.
And I think the key is consistency and hard work.
Yeah.
And being relentless and doing it every day and ignoring the audience, ignore these metrics, the analytics, the likes. And it's difficult to do because we've been so conditioned to pay attention to this.
Yeah.
And
is this video executing and getting enough views?
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you put a lot of time into maybe getting a video or doing something and then it doesn't perform in the way in which you hoped, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
For sure.
And so like, yeah, there's videos where, you know, I saw this couple walking and I just, you know, I'm driving during rush hour and there's nowhere to park. You know, it's someone walking their car, but I really want to meet them. So I'm literally like driving my car into like a ditch, like parking off to the side and running across the street and chasing them down. And it's like an incredible interaction and then like would post it and no one cares.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I just risked my life for this.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit.
Wow.
But I can imagine that's like everybody who's creating and doing art and pursuing what they love and investing all this time in the back end. And then they post this clip on YouTube or whatever network. And it's tough to keep going, you know? And of course you're comparing and you're looking and seeing all these other people have success, doing what they love and making a living. And that's your dream. And it's, along the way, and this is just like the beginning, right? It's tough. And I think every day, there's sometimes I wake up and wonder, like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. You know, why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. Because of the rejections or the invalidations or those negative comments, or maybe it's a business who
what kind of negative comments do you even get? Do you get a lot of negative?
No.
Okay.
Not at me, but I've started to notice recently. I'll start reading through comments every now and then, especially at night.
Yeah.
Because I try to like respond to some, but I realize you can't respond to all, especially if you have like a video, you know, that just is blasted off.
Yeah.
But sadly, with a lot of these positive interactions, where it's a couple that's married like 60 years sharing, you know, what they love most, it always becomes negative.
How though? How does someone interweave that to be negative?
So, and I don't know if this is someone intentionally trying to be a troll, but a good example is this one video. It's a couple, Irene and Bob. They're walking downtown Pittsburgh outside of, I think it's Heinz Hall.
Okay.
Right there by like the theater or whatever it is. And it's up to something crazy, like almost 30 million views.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like the whole world's seen this video somehow. Wild. And all the comments up until like probably a week or two ago were nothing but beautiful. You know, everyone chiming in and just dropping hearts, emoji, you know, nothing negative. What could you say negative about these people? And then next thing you know, it's now a full-blown thread for people attacking each other. You know? And it's... I think it all originated from one person attacking the guy, Bob, in the video and saying, well, you know, his response was about himself, not what, you know, qualities that he loves about his wife.
That's crazy.
And you'll see that happen often. And then everyone comes to the defense of Bob, you know, all these people commented, and now they're at war. And these are all these humans who are now arguing back and forth.
Yeah.
And that happens almost every time, though.
Yeah.
And so you learn a lot about society and
sure
people, and it's just
that's really what it speaks about, is like, you know, I mean, and it's really any post, you know, any like post that's popular, anyone that has like a platform that has like a lot of people, you know, that generates conversation, there's often always negative about it. And it's wild to think about that, you know. But that just goes to show you, like, some people are just glass half empty people, you know.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think about that, because I mean, do you have, I would say, you know, the majority of your videos are positive, but like you have some negative, like there's sadness that comes out of a lot of the positivity in there. You know, people talk about spending their lives together and all the all the hardships and all the heartache that they had to go through, which ultimately brought these people together even closer.
Yeah, a lot of couples that have lost their former spouses.
Yeah.
And met a handful now that have gotten remarried after losing a loved one, their wife or former husband, and now they're on round 2.
Yeah, I just saw the lady yesterday.
Yeah,
the video you sent yesterday. They've been together, and they said that they're on their second time around.
Yeah, and what's crazy is I'm actually going to start live streaming like full time because I think it's important. We'll see how it goes, but I think it's really important.
Like TikTok, like how you'll scroll through TikTok and like people will be like working, doing like a live stream video of them like doing whatever.
Right. So I'm thinking that I'm probably going to try to do it across like all the platforms. I don't know if you could do that, but I think it's important. And of course, people have to be willing and comfortable to share, some of these conversations, but to really see all these conversations
in real time.
Yeah. And not just these little clips. Because I think it is healing through storytelling, and we learn the most through each other's experiences and listening and hearing and witnessing. And there's even been some interactions that one that really stands out. This was just recently in Ohio, but I was at a Walmart and went to Walmart to, I forget what I was getting. I was looking for coconut water. And I was at my girlfriend's parents'. It was like 8:00 at night. And see a woman and who I assume is like her husband or partner walking. They're probably early 50s, maybe early mid 50s. And I approached them, said, "Excuse me, may I ask you a question?" And she looks and he looks, but he's still walking. I said, "My name's Dave. I'm an aspiring filmmaker. I'm working on a project about love, relationships, kindness, couples. So wondering if I could just ask you a quick question." At this point, he's like 20 yards down the aisle, just pushing the cart, walking. But she's fully connected, looking at me, wanting to hear more. So I explained to her. She asked, "Why are you doing this?" We start talking. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by. We're just talking. And I look over and I don't see this guy. Like 10 minutes have gone by. Now we're talking about life. We're deep.
Yeah.
This is like a full-on therapy session. And so I said, "Ma'am, I didn't get your name." She says, "It's Nancy." I said, "Nancy, it's a pleasure, talking to you." I said, "If you don't mind me asking, who's the gentleman you're with?" She's like, "Oh, that's my boyfriend. We're not married." I said, "Okay, how long you been together?" And I think she said like 14 years. Mm-hmm. I said, "Okay." I said, why do you walk away and leave you like that?" She's like, "Oh, he does that when he doesn't want to be bothered." And I said, "So he was uncomfortable, but what about you? He just left you." She goes, "Yeah, I suppose that's kind of messed up." I said, "Well, I'm not saying that." I said, "How's that make you feel?" She said, "Not good." I said, "Do you feel loved?" She said, "No." I said, "Have you ever communicated that?" She says, "No." She starts bawling. And she says, "I never got over my divorce 25 years ago. And I don't feel like I'm enough."
Wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and you'll have interactions like that where just people in that moment,
just tear your world apart.
Yeah. And then you have to be cautious though, because you sometimes want to give advice that you really believe in, but when people are in such maybe a vulnerable place, they can be steered so easily. And it's just like, I want to tread very carefully when you're dealing with someone who's in such a fragile state. And it was a tough moment, but yeah, it was the one time where I really felt the need to push someone and give them advice and tell them what I believe in that moment, and reiterate to them how they are enough and they need to heal, but like they deserve so much better from this.
Yeah.
And we ended up saying our goodbyes, and as I was getting ready to leave, right as I was like walking towards the entrance at the end of the aisle, the gentleman stopped me, and he put his hands on me, on my shoulder, and grabbed me, and I was like, "Please don't touch me." And he said, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Did you feed her all the bullshit or half the bullshit?" And I said, it's just really sad that, you can't love yourself and extend, the love that she deserves to her. I said, and he was just like, fuck you and blah, blah, blah. And just an angry, unhappy, person. But it's, it's always a reminder that we're all humans. We're all going through so much that we won't talk about. And we can't, because we just don't feel comfortable and lost. But it's like,
we're guarded.
Yeah, and it's like, man, if only we could change that, because there's people that are prisoners in their own lives, and they're going through a life just like on this roller coaster they can't get off.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like, we're all guarded, and, like you said, you have the youth now, social media and all this. It's like, as a parent, you could extend all the love and attention and advice, and do everything you can to protect your children, because that's your top priority. But once they go off into that school, whether it's elementary, high school, whatever.
Yeah, it's not, you can't control everything anymore.
No, now they're impressionable by the peers and then by the screen. And it's like, it's tough. But I think as a society, we need to look at what we're prioritizing in academics, what we're pushing the kids. And then it's even like, the people at the top level, the celebrities, the actors, the athletes, all the people that have the platforms.
Yeah, that these kids are looking at.
Yeah, be real, be vulnerable. What's it hurt? You have all the success, and it'll only probably result in you being more successful, keeping it real.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's what we owe to people.
I think a lot of it, there is a lot of, and a lot of it has changed and kind of, what's the right word? Kind of is come to light more, that vulnerability through like podcasting and conversations and people talking, because like, often we would see all these people that have these platforms, these big platforms. You would see like, their 4 minutes on Ellen DeGeneres of them promoting a new movie. But like, whenever you have these people that are, going on these podcasts and talking about, their failures and their insecurities, and whenever you have these people that are on top of the world talking about this stuff, it makes them kind of see human. Everyone, its ability to see people as being a human. And what you do is another way for people to look at it. You're hearing real accounts of success stories and stories that are not as successful, and it's important to have that out there. Real moments,
right,
that are not just like fabricated.
Yeah, and I think that's what we all look for most, especially like when we're out and we meet. We want everyone just to be honest and real.
Yeah,
and just keep it real. Don't lie. Don't deceive. And
that's what it is.
And and I think it's especially like Instagram and social media, the power of it. It's everyone is filtering out how they want to be perceived, this life, and we go through this process. And I can't imagine. I think we've all done it. How many times have we recorded a video or taken a picture or something, and then we edit it 8 million times, or we re-record it, and then we just delete all of them?
Yeah,
it's insane. It's exhausting. It's draining, and we should all be so fortunate to be totally comfortable with who we are, expressing that, sharing when we're not okay. Just communicating feelings with no judgment, just pure acceptance. And it's I guess it's easier said than done.
Easier said than done, and it really is. So what are your goals with this? If you had to sum up your goals in a little paragraph of what you want to do, what would they be?
Ultimately, my dream, which I do feel like I'm living, and someone reminded me of that the other day. They asked me what my dream was. I was like, man, it'd be every day to lift people up, make them feel good. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, congratulations, you're living it. I was thinking, well, no, I'm not making a sustainable living at it.
Yeah.
But they said, well, that wasn't part of your dream. You didn't say you want to make a living and make money at it.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I think my dream is to be able to continue doing what I'm doing and helping people heal and feel inspired and reflect through storytelling, real people, and make a living at it. And I think my dream would just be, honestly, to reach as many, not only, just humans in general, but children. And if there's a way for, me to be able to create like some sort of curriculum or something that's adopted by schools where it's really focusing on self-love and prioritizing dealing with all the things that we have to deal with in life.
Hell yeah.
That aren't the quadratic fucking formula or, the capital of some place that will never go.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty much anyone's goal, right? You want to just kind of give back, but you want to be able to live and keep living and live to some way you want to, and just still be positive and put some positivity back out.
Yeah, it's funny. I used to want so much. I think we all do. We all see these things people have and wish we could all travel and see the world and have all the nice houses and cars and, whatever it may be. But, my life, my perspective has evolved and changed so much. But now it's, I just want to get to meet people everywhere and do this and, get to, create content and do that. But, in terms of like what I would want, what I need is just be able to have food on the plate, survive, and
pay my
keep
bills.
doing it. Yeah, it's
that's all I want.
And
I don't need a mansion. I just want to stay right where I am, but I'd like to pay my bills doing this, talking to people.
Yeah, and then and a lot of us, we take a lot for granted, but we don't need much, and happiness is really just doing what you love. It's not what you get from it, just doing it and being able to do it every day. So
that's a great answer.
Yeah.
All right, let's move along to the ending segment that I do with everyone, because I feel like that that's a great way to button up our conversation.
Okay.
About your goals and what you are effectively trying to execute with your Instagram. But the ending segment that I do with everyone is an ending segment called Desert Island Questions. So we're talking about not needing much, right? Okay, so this is what I do with everyone. I do this with every guest at the end of the podcast. It's a segment called Desert Island Questions. Whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island to use until they starve to death and die. First category, 3 movies to take. So you're stuck on a desert island, you get a little DVD player, and you can only have 3 movies for the rest of your time. What would they be?
Oh, shit. 3 movies.
Yep.
Number 1, I think I got to go with Shawshank Redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no like red box on the island.
No, you only get 3 DVDs for the rest of your life. Yeah.
All right, we're going Shawshank, The Departed, and then God, I was just talking about it the other night. It's a Robin Williams movie.
Jack, Patch Adams, What Dreams May Come, 1 Hour Photo, Aladdin, Flubber, Jumanji, Mork and Mindy,
Matt Damon.
Good Will Hunting. Sorry,
there's my 3.
That's like the most famous Robin Williams movie, and I'm just naming all the rest of them.
Yeah, you were.
Those are good. That's a good variety. Those are good. Okay, second category. Do you read it all?
Not as often as I should. But
do you have a favorite book?
Favorite book. Not that's going to come to mind. I'm going to stutter and hesitate more than the first.
Okay,
question.
what about do you listen to podcasts or anything?
Yes.
What are some of the podcasts you like?
As of recent, it's only been one. It'd be Jay Shetty.
Who's that? What's he talk about?
He talks a lot about relationships, personal development, healing. It's real feel good, all about love.
Okay, that's good. I'll give you that whole discography for the Desert Island. Okay, third category, you get 3 CDs.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So in high school, I was a big fan of Big Timers.
Oh wow, who wasn't, right?
Yeah. So rocking that CD. CDs. I feel like they don't. Do they still make CDs?
I think very randomly, but this is like, this is if you could have what you want. You remember the first CD you ever bought?
I think it was Bush.
Wow.
It might have just been the single 2 Glycerin.
Fuck
I think it was called. Yeah.
You can't beat that.
Classic. But yeah, I don't think I could do that anymore. I think I'd get really frustrated on the island.
Okay.
It might not end good. Yeah, it'd probably be like have to have like Elton John, something like so feel good on there.
That's
like
good.
Bruce Springsteen or something.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd have the big timers, and then I'd probably go with like Lil Wayne or
Fuck yeah. Which one?
way back when, like When the Block is Hot. Like,
yeah. There you go. That's good.
Yeah, but if it was more like new school, probably Kendrick Lamar. I'd just take him with me, and
Okay.
we'd ride it out on that.
Those are good answers. Those are good answers. Okay. Third to last question is something called the death row meal. So, death row meal, you get a last meal before you get put to death. You get an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. What would they be?
Ooh. And they could be from different places.
Different places. As specific you want to be.
Oh, man. All right, so for appetizer... God, these are really tough. These are good questions. These are
Ask every guest.
brain busters.
Every guest.
Are there people that are like, I need to spend like a few hours outside? Like,
Well, I have people all the time that message me and be like, I don't know why I didn't say this. But that's the reason I don't tell people these, just because I just want what's popping into your mind.
you know what's all right? Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it so real. So for some reason, Chili's chips and salsa as an appetizer entered my brain, but I haven't been to Chili's in full disclosure probably in like 20 years. But I guess that's what we're doing for our appetizer.
Okay.
What was the other thing?
Main course.
Okay, main course. Wow.
Come up on that mic a little bit.
Yeah, main course. I think we're going pizza.
Pizza? From where?
Oh God, this is gonna get me in trouble.
Yeah, this is a tough question. I'll help you out.
Oh, I like that. Honestly, I just had it the other day. Actually, it was like 2 days ago. It was the Grandma's Bread pizza from Leo Gretto. It's like an app on there.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
I was surprised. I'd done it once before. Wasn't as big a fan. But yeah, just the other day it was like, I'm like a light cheese guy though.
Okay.
Light sauce. And
Okay.
so it was real light. Yeah, it was pretty solid.
All right, that's fine.
And then dessert.
Dessert.
I think we're gonna go with Dagnys.
What are you going to pick?
Yeah, so you definitely got to be weary of. She'll sometimes have vanilla cheesecake in there, or plain.
Yeah.
And one time, that's what I thought I'm getting, right? You see the label, and she confirmed it. It was fucking key lime.
Oh.
Yeah, it's still great.
Yeah, but
I realized like it's like a grab bag in there. Sometimes things aren't as they seem.
Well, that was the first time I had her cheesecake whenever we bought it yesterday, and me and my wife were blown away to where it has to be the best cheesecake we ever had.
It's actually
and that's
insane,
no
right?
bullshit at all. That was it was pretty incredible. We're gonna get her on, and I'm gonna learn a little bit more about her as well. But that's a good answer.
And which one did you do?
What did I eat yesterday?
What kind of cheesecake?
Whatever her special was. It was like, I think it was vanilla with like a
chocolate ganache.
Yeah, got chocolate ganache and this banging.
Yeah, I was mad I didn't pull the trigger. I did the banana. Was it banana pudding cheesecake?
That's probably banging too. Yeah. I mean, it's all good. I haven't had anything bad there.
Oh, it's my girlfriend had a bite of it like during breakfast. She's like, "Can I just try some?" I'm like, yeah. And then I like housed the whole thing. I didn't see it. It was.
I did. After I ate my breakfast pizza, I just started going to town on that. It's good stuff. Okay, second to last question. You're getting ready to go on a road trip. You go into a gas station to pick a snack. What's your snack of choice?
Probably Goldfish or Cheez-Its.
Goldfish or Cheez-Its? Cheez-Its it's picked so much on here. You'd be surprised.
Really?
Cheez-Its and combos are probably the most picked.
What about Swedish Fish?
Not as much. There's people that have picked it, but it's not like I remember picking that all the time as a kid of like candy that I would get. Right. But it's like my last choice now.
Really?
Yeah, Swedish Fish is my last choice now.
What's number one? Reese's? Obviously that's mine. That's why I threw it out there.
I like Reese's, but like, if I'm going in to get a snack, it would probably have to be Sarah's chocolate pretzels. They pretty much carry them everywhere around here. All the gas stations.
Sarah's in your face everywhere.
Yeah, Sarah's is all around. And,
is it Sarah's or Sarah?
Sarah's. Sarris. They're right over here. The local chocolate company. They've been around for like 100 years. I think had them on here. It's like you never been to the Sarah's shop?
No, I've been.
God damn.
Yeah, I've been thinking it's Sarah at all the get-go's. But
Sarris. Sarris candy.
Okay.
It's a reason to come out to Cannonsburg and go check it out.
Oh, it's in Cannonsburg.
In Cannonsburg, the whole factory. It's like Willy Wonka in there. They have a chocolate castle that is over $100,000 worth of chocolate. They redo every year. They hire an engineer.
This is serious.
This is real. I've had her on, the granddaughter of Frank Saris, the owner. She was on. Over $100,000. They hire an engineer to build this. There's no rebar, no wood or nothing. It's a fucking castle, big as this table, made out of chocolate. They got an old school ice cream parlor in there.
I'm going there. Are they open tomorrow? Because I feel like that's where I'm going to be all day.
Yeah, they're open there, and that would be a great place to get some people because you got people. You got a nice background in there.
Okay.
It looks beautiful in there, man. Saris pretzels, that's a Pittsburgh staple.
All right,
that's right up there with Kind's ketchup. Right up there with Eaton Park cookies. That's where you got to go. I promise you, man. It's a banger.
I'm literally going there tomorrow.
You should. All right. Okay. Second to last question. I do this with everyone. You might have seen this. This is something that was on social media that I came by. This guy invented this thing. It's called Tales. I don't know. It's a bunch of questions that is made for people to, interview their family. The way that it's advertised was like a young kid is able to ask his grandparents these things and just spur thought and provoke thought through these cards for people that are not interviewers like you and myself.
Gotcha.
So there's 3 different sections. There's early life, midlife, and late in life. Okay. What question would you want to pick from?
You pick.
You want me to pick one?
Yeah.
All right.
Let it rip.
Okay. I'm going to just I'll pick this one. Okay. Early life. What's the happiest memory from your childhood?
Oh, man. Happiest memory from my childhood. Gosh, when I try to think about that, I think it's just like a culmination of memories all like blended into one. And it's just, I was big into tennis growing up.
Tennis?
Tennis. That was my sport.
Wow.
Yeah. So my parents would take me to tournaments all over, designated. But it was just even like the countless hours of just hitting balls with my dad late at night. And I was probably horrible to hit with because I was always trying to just like crush it, and like he doesn't play tennis like that, you know. But like, what a miserable time for him because he's just chasing balls the whole time. Yeah. Like I'm just trying to fucking crush it every time.
Ace.
But it's just they're so loving, supportive.
That's a good answer though.
Yeah,
that's cool that's what pops into your mind whenever you think of like, it got to be a great moment for you if that's what like, floods back into your mind with that question.
Yeah, and it's just like they're always there on the sideline. And it was like all sports, but like always proud, always attentive, you know? So it was like they weren't just attending the games, but like
participating.
Yeah, if I'm looking over, they're fucking locked in, clapping.
And that's what I was talking about in the beginning whenever we were talking about like, thinking of the action that your parents took as adults now, because like my dad was a coach for over 20 years for my brother, and it's like, how did you have a job and 2 kids and a marriage and still be able to find time to just be so great to a bunch of random kids that were just probably a fucking nightmare to deal with.
Right.
12-year-olds smacking each other with baseball bats and shit.
Not listening,
like wrangling cats.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a good answer though.
Yeah.
Okay, last question that I ask everyone.
Okay.
If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Alive or dead? I'm probably going with I don't know why Mac Miller and Robin Williams both popped in my mind.
People have asked me who I've talked to, and I've mentioned both of them. They're usually in my I switch back and forth. I've listened to everyone pick these people that they talk to, and I think that the people that I go to back through the most is like, Mac Miller, Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, people like that. People like, Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
It's wild that, it's such a hard question. I realize these questions that I ask people are loaded and so difficult to try to like narrow down, but it's funny you say Robin Williams and Mac Miller because those are often 2 of my choices.
And then if I was able to bring like 4 people to the table, it'd probably be Maya Angelou and Jim Carrey. That'd be another one.
Those would all be great. Yeah. All be great answers. Dude, absolute pleasure to sit down and talk with you. Before I forget, though, please take a second and promote your pages, where your handles are, where everyone could find your work and all the great things you're doing.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, so it's just going to be at David B. Shane, DavidBshane. And that's YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I'm going to hold myself to that.
How could people find you? Is this all random? I've had so many people reach out to me and say, like, was this a random interaction, or did you know this person, and like, was this set up?
Yeah, no. So, yeah, all the interactions have been totally random, excluding there are several that are set up, not the people, but the location.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone, has a business, or you're interested in being featured, you want to be asked this question by me, either shoot me a DM, emails davidbshaneinquiries@gmail. Find it on my bio and Instagram. But yeah, I'm an open book.
You're willing to collaborate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For people that are listening, my personal experience, I can't say enough good about it. I should urge you to check out his page. And, you think there's anything else that I missed with you?
No, I think
I think we did a pretty damn good job at communicating what you do.
Yeah, I think, hopefully there's no questions left unanswered, but if you got one, you know how to find me.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me. It's a pleasure. Everyone else that's listening, appreciate Yins as usual. Each and every week, we're back with another great guest doing great things in our city. Thank you for listening. Call you right back.